House Republicans calling on Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas to visit Yuma, Arizona, saying that San Diego, the entire southern border, proves the severity of the crisis. Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs, member of the House Oversight and Reform Committee, joins us live now. Obviously, Congressman, the entire southern border is a disaster. That number, 1 million arrests in just 6 months alone. To your point in that op-ed, is there any chance Mayorkas says, yeah, I'm going to go down, check this out, this problem that I and Joe Biden and the entire Biden administration caused in the first place?
Well, first of all, he would have to acknowledge that there is a problem on the border and that he felt he needed to get down there and see it. I'm not sure that he understands the gravity of it. I mean, this is the DHS secretary, and I don't think he understands how serious this is. So when you find 23 folks, people coming into the country who are on the terrorist watch list, and yet you release hundreds of thousands of people into the country, and you know that you have between 500,000 and 800,000 gotaways, that means you just don't know how many people are on the terrorist watch list or other criminally violent. So he needs to get down there. And no more of this stuff where he goes down and says, well, we're going to do this or that. He needs to go down and say, this is as bad as it gets. Quit coming. We're not going to allow you in.
You just mentioned the suspected or known terrorists that were encountered. That number 23 seems awfully low in light of the number of people that have just crossed this border. Can you hazard a guess as to how many gotaways are now in the homeland threatening our nation?
Well, the word I got was that there were about 800,000 gotaways last year. And if that's the case, and you look at 23 out of 2 million, I mean, you're still adding to that list. And people with information tell me that maybe about 40 or 50 that actually made it into the country. We don't know. We simply don't know. We don't know where they're coming from, all these folks. We don't know what their intention is, and we don't know whether it's malevolent to the United States and how big a risk the country is at. Until you start getting hold of that border situation, and they're not doing that. They're making it actually worse instead of better.
That math that you just worked through is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And the number one question I get asked, Congressman, I'm sure you get this asked this too, why? Why is the Biden administration doing this? I get asked this from Democrats, Republicans. We just mentioned the terrorists. We mentioned the overall number. And then there's this video of the Border Patrol agents being accused of whipping people, trying to corral them at the border, when we now know these agents, no wrongdoing was found. This is a proper procedure. It's like the Biden administration, in their refusal to apologize for their rush to judgment as to what they saw, has absolutely no idea how our border is secured or what needs to be done to keep our nation safe in the first place. Do you have any reason why they continue to have their head literally in the sand since the moment they took office?
Yeah, my position is that they campaigned on an open border. This is exactly what an open border looks like. They are keeping a campaign promise. And the fact that they refuse to make things better tells you that this is willful. It is purposeful. Nobody keeps bad policies in place unless they like the results of those bad policies. And these are bad policies. We could go through specifically, I could give you specifics how policies have changed. But the reality is this is purposeful. They're playing to their base, I suppose. Beyond that, we don't know the bad intentions that the Biden administration has. I personally don't think President Biden is cognizant and capable of understanding the full danger this country's in because of the southern border crisis. But Secretary Mayorkas does, and he's not doing anything. He should resign, or my impeachment resolution should be heard.
Yeah, to borrow from our last segment, Easter Bunny can't protect us at the southern border like it can protect Biden from answering questions. If Republicans take back Congress as is expected, what can they do to blunt Biden's impact on the border, which at that point, by the January of next year, is going to be even more horrific?
You're right. It will be even worse. There are three things that we can do. We have to use the must-pass legislation that President Biden wants, and we need to make sure that none of that passes unless there's curative measures on the border. Second thing, you have to have investigative committees bring people in who are making these bad decisions and hold them up to spectacle for the whole country to see how bad it is, and which will compel them in some instances to make changes to their policy. And the third thing is you actually have to hold people accountable with other mechanisms. I mean, quite frankly, that's why I've introduced resolutions to impeach Secretary Mayorkas, because what he has done is allowed literally millions of people into this country illegally, and our border is absolutely not secure. It's dangerous. We haven't even got into drug trafficking. We haven't even talked about that implication. We haven't talked about the sex trafficking that's going on, and all the things that are happening at the border that we can report on. And so I think you need to impeach him. And once that impeachment goes, I think he'll resign before he gets impeached, and maybe we can get somebody else in there who will actually take active measures to secure our border.
And Congressman, when you think of the Department of Homeland Security, it was born out of 9/11 when it was let's protect America at all costs, to now 20 years later, this. It's sad. Congressman Andy Biggs, we appreciate your time and your insight this morning. Thank you, sir.